Some other kids, no matter how much they study, cannot get it. I don't believe it at all. This is what the maths thing has taught me, from coming from the bottom of the class, crying in class in the previous school, to winning the maths prize. I just think that is God right there. So, and this is why I put in the second point how we sought help. So we sought help for maths because we were preparing him for the grammar schools in Bexley and in Bromley. We knew that he needed to be very, very strong in maths, verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, English grammar, spellings and all of that, and creative writing. So we sort of divided the work up and said, Mr. Zhang will still help us with the maths, and everyone else we knew, anyone that we knew, oh, you've got a degree in engineering, okay, you help Correde with this maths stuff. Anybody, seriously, in another of the slides, I said you've got to ask for and receive help, everybody. Shehu there helped. Shehu is on creative writing, please can you help him mark it before I get home? Or any bond paper. We would ask for help. I don't see how we could have done it without asking for help. I genuinely, sincerely don't believe that's the case. Okay, so going back to Korede's story, then in the new school, it started to grow. That's what we noticed. It started to grow. In the time it started as well, they had a running competition, and the sports teacher said to us, your son, seems to have the ability to run. So we're like, oh, okay, that's all right. And then they had a competition. He went to the competition in Canterbury, and he came third out of, I think, about 120 boys. And then the following year, we went to the competition, 257. Sorry, beg your pardon, 257. My boss has corrected me. Then the following year, we went to the same competition, and this time around came fourth. Yes, but his team won team gold because another boy in his team came third. So we started thinking, oh, okay, so he can run. So we sort of felt, okay, there's a potential there, there's a potential there. But what happened was, in the third year, when they were going to have the competition, it was really, really muddy. So they had the competition 2009, I believe, 2010, and then in 2011, we've got the awards there. This competition was cancelled. 2013. So the competition was cancelled. And then the sports teacher said to us, this competition has been cancelled. We felt really crushed. How in the world are we going to know whether it's got potential or not? Because by this time we had enrolled him into an athletics club. Oh, we were still looking for this competition, and we were moaning. And the sports teacher said to my husband, well, there's something they call a pack one. Every Saturday, there is one very, very close to you. Why don't you get ready to start going? So on every Saturday, between 9 and 10 o'clock, there's this run in Bexley that he does. It's a 5-kilometer run because he likes long distance running, and he will do that. And then from there, they told us about a junior pack one as well that they were going to start. Doing on the Sunday. So every Saturday and every Sunday, he would run 7 kilometers. And then during the week on a Thursday, he would go to the athletics club and run some more. Okay, but then coming back to Eton and all of that, how was it all panning out? So when my husband read this book and he started saying, we need to find out how Korede can get to Eton, to Oxbridge, we started thinking about the schools he needed to be in to get to Oxford and Cambridge, right? Just working it backwards. And then we made a list. We went to the independent schools, the website. We checked forums. We made a list. It's on there on my USB stick about the top 100 schools in the UK that send kids to Oxbridge. So when we made this list of 100 schools, we discovered, of course, I couldn't go to some because they were just girls' schools, right? So he started saying, well, I can't really go to St. Paul's Girls' School because that's genetically impossible. So we said, okay. And every step of the way we were talking to him about us wanting him to get to Oxbridge as well. We were watching documentaries, YouTube clips, you know, said, Korede, you've got to get to Oxbridge, and this is why, and we'll explain the reasons, you know. We think that if you push yourself for the best, you will get the best. So we started saying all these things. And then on the list, the St. Olaf school that we were preparing him for was right there on the list, but I think it was about number 60-something on that list. And then there was another grammar school called Judd School in Tonbridge. So we said, you'll try for those two schools. Some of the other grammar schools that were talked about in Bexley were not on the list. So we said, Korede, you actually cannot go to any grammar school anymore in Bexley, because from what we've seen of this list, they don't send people to Oxbridge. So, and when we were doing our search, we started narrowing it down, and then we went to top 100 schools that sent kids to Oxbridge in the last 5 years, and the number of admissions. And then, of course, Eton was there. Winchester College was there. St. Paul's School was there. Westminster School was there. And then we started looking at those schools and thought, okay, Westminster, so we applied quite quickly. Winchester, we applied. Eton, we applied. St. Paul's, we applied. I think by this time, Eton was like number 4 on our list. And we started looking at these schools, and we started calling them up to come, you know, visit them and go for assessment and all of that. And it got to a point where...
Sorry to interrupt, sorry. All of these are boarding schools, aren't they?
Westminster, you can do both. There is boarding, and then you can be a day student. Winchester is fully boarding, you're very right. We talked about Tonbridge School as well. It's a mixture. You can be a day student or you can board. For Eton, you have got to board. It's under my special considerations. So we started looking at these schools, but for us, Eton then became number 1. Why? Because we noticed that Westminster, Winchester, St. Paul's, they're what you call hothouses. You've got to be academically able and gifted, and they will probably produce Nobel laureates in physics or chemistry or mathematics. Our Korede is not like that. He likes his running and his sports and, you know, mixing things together. It's not just all about the books. And we started thinking, this Eton school is the all-rounder school for us, right? For our family. That's what we then started thinking about. And like I said, we were talking to people. And a particular mentor comes to mind who said, whose boy had gotten into another school, wanted to get into Eton, but didn't. And he started saying, yeah, who says you can't send him to Eton? You know, why don't you look into Eton College? So we came from, no, it's not impossible, it's impossible, it's not possible, it's not even believable, it's not even thinkable. You know, don't even go there too. It's actually quite possible. So all this while we started thinking, like I said, we'd applied to Westminster, we'd applied to Winchester, and then we started reading about Eton, and we discovered that with Eton, you need to be registered by the time the boy is 10 years and 6 months. So 10.5 years. Yes. Even though the admission, when the boy goes in, he will be 13. But you need to register at least 2.5 years before the required, your required presence. By this time, Korede was 10 years, 4 months. You see how long this research took us. So we quickly applied. We said, 2 months of grace. We applied in January last year, 2014. January 2014, it was 10 years, 4 months. And then when we applied, they gave us an acknowledgement, and that was in February. Right, so we said, okay, fine, yes, his name is on the waiting list. Remember what I had said about one of the new friends that we've met, a new couple, and they're quite close to us now. They applied when their son was 4 years old because they'd always known that they wanted their son to go to Eton College. With us, we went around the houses, still doing our research. At one point, we thought, oh, let's go to Seven Oaks. Seven Oaks is also on the list of the top 100 school. But the other thing with us, the limitation was the money. We thought £35,000 school fees. We were just thinking about that and thought, okay, maybe Seven Oaks will give us a bursary. So we took all the things that we had and went to Seven Oaks and said, oh, he's a sports person, he's great, he's this. And they said, okay, even if we're going to give you, a bursary, it's going to be a scholarship, it's going to be a 10% sports scholarship. So we retreated and said, how does this work? £15,000, 10% of that, how much are we left with? We said, no, we probably can't do it. We probably cannot do this. But for some strange reason with Eton, we just, once we decided we were going to go for it, it kept being on our minds as the number one, the number one school. Let's do this, the number one school, the number one school, the number one school. So we then started to talk to everybody that we so to speak knew, that had independent school background and what have you. For a long time, we didn't meet anybody whose son went to Eton. But as we kept searching, we met one family. So friends of friends. So we spoke to a lady. The lady herself is a single lady. We are mentoring our son now, who is 8, to get into Eton. And she said, oh, I know my friends, they live in London and their son is in Eton. We said, can we meet them? So she arranged a meeting and we went to talk to them. So when we got to their house, father very unassuming, mother very unassuming, and we went into their living room and what we saw was just musical instruments. Yeah. So we saw 2 grand pianos. Then we saw a really massive instrument, much higher than me, that looked like David's harp. That's what my husband called it, called a double bass. And then we saw a violin, on the floor, like, it had its own place of honor on the floor.